Hey guys, Matt Bell at Electric Violin Shop here. One of the coolest parts of my job, and I have a lot of cool parts of my job, look at all these instruments. One of the cool parts of my job is I get to talk to some amazing players and amazing artists about the stuff that we love doing. Okay, so I wanted to bring a chat that I had with Rachel Grace. I wanted to bring this chat to you. She was featured on our Rockstar Violinist podcast. You can hear all about her story and listen to some of her music. She was really early. She was on episode 3. We've got over 60 of them now. But she was really early, and that should tell you a lot about how cool Rachel is. She was really early. She was conservatory trained violinist based from the Netherlands. She's now based in LA, and she's played with, well, you can read, she's played with a whole lot of people. And she's currently, you can find her on Twitch right now. She's doing a ton of live streaming on Twitch. But I just wanted to, she's a really, really fantastic player. She always sounds incredible. And I wanted to get her thoughts on reverb. Just how do we use reverb? What are some pitfalls that people fall into? And just, what's her experience been with reverb and how she uses that to help her get a great sound. And I just thought I'd bring you that conversation here. So if you were going to describe to somebody who's just kind of getting started with electric violin, what would you tell them? Like, when they say, well, what is this reverb that you speak of? What would you say?
I would say reverb makes everything sweet. Like if you plug in, which I used to do because I had no idea what the heck I was doing. When I first got an electric violin and I started playing with DJs, I would plug it directly into the mixer and everybody thought it was great because we didn't really know how else it could sound. And then I discovered reverb, and reverb really puts that sweetness on everything that can really mix your sound into the rest. So it comes home. It really comes home, because otherwise it's like two very separated sounds.
Mm.
Yeah, it's like when you have like a nice cup of tea and you put salt into it, it just doesn't match. It's
Yeah.
weird, you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's sort of
but
that sweetener that just makes the instrument, it makes it sound better.
yes, exactly. And to me, when people ask me what is the first effect I should get, that I always definitely say reverb.
What's
Yeah.
the thing that we notice with classical violinists, acoustic violinists? Where are you the happiest playing? When you're in this huge cathedral, or if you're in a big hall, or your bathroom, or whatever,
Yeah.
why my instrument sounds amazing when I'm standing in a stairwell. Well, that's
Right.
reverb. That's
Yeah.
what makes it sound amazing.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Now, have you experimented a lot with different kinds of reverb, like spring versus hall versus plate, or?
To be honest, yes, but also I not until recently that I kind of looked into what the difference was. I always just kind of listen to what I think sounds good, and I never really specifically looked like what the difference was between spring and hall and plate. And for instance, like it can say, if you read like about spring reverb, right? They say a lot about spring reverb. It can sound a little metallic or a little like boingy, like a boingy sound. If someone would tell me that, I would be maybe less interested in that reverb,
Mm.
because metallic and a nice violin sound, I don't really, to me that doesn't mix. But then when you try it out, you hear different things. So it's not always,
Oh, that's a
you
great
just,
point.
yeah, you just
Yeah, you
don't
don't
always
necessarily
know.
want to let the description of it chase you away
Yeah.
from something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what have you generally where do you generally get your reverb from? Are you doing it in your DAW? Are you getting it from pedals, or how are you getting your reverb?
Yeah, it really depends what I'm doing, but like when I live stream or record, if it's acoustic violin, I'll get it through my DAW, like through Logic is
Mm-hmm.
what I'm using right now. And electric violin, I'm using the Helix, which is right next to me here on the floor. Yeah. When touring, I have the 5-string realist violin for touring, and then the acoustic electric, and then I use pedals. I have the tiny Hall of Fame reverb, which I also use. Like I had an event last Saturday night, and because I don't want to bring the Helix for some of these events, not necessary to schlep it around. So I usually just bring my tiny Hall of Fame, and then a little delay. But without any of it, if you don't have any reverb, it's just gonna sound like. I mean, I don't want to use any swear words, but yeah, it's trash.
But it's like it's a little too close. And
Yeah.
we Americans, we like our space. So could you like
Yes.
stand like 8 feet further away from me? And that's what we're really hearing. We're hearing the room.
Right. Exactly. You're hearing the room, and it kind of gives the sound a space as well. It gives the sound a space where it belongs, because um, whether you play to a track, the track is produced, the track is mixed and has effects and reverb. So if you're gonna put like this dry violin on there, it's gonna be really weird. It doesn't mix at all, you know. So it needs its own space with the
Mhm.
reverb to to be able to mix tracks. You still want the sound to have space, its own space within the space that you're playing it. And I always feel it really lifts everything, and it's more inspiring to play too, you know. You I don't know, it feel like you're floating. It's more
Mhm.
inspiring. Yeah.
And the better you sound, the better you're going to play because there's this
Exactly.
feedback loop.
Exactly. And like a lot of times when I tour and or play an event, and for some reason they can't give me any reverb in the monitor, that's pretty terrible. That's pretty terrible, because it might sound amazing out there, but you're still performing it in the moment, and if you have this dry ass sound, it's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
for sure.
like, oh, I suck, but you don't. But yeah.
When you feel like you do, then you're going to play like you feel like you do.
Exactly. It's interesting actually, because it's a mental thing, but um yeah.
So
Yeah.
you work with a lot of violinists, and you most of the people you work with are super experienced, but you've worked with
Yes.
some less experienced people too. What are some of
Yes.
the big mistakes that people make with reverb?
I guess to put way too much on it, um to not really, and I think, I don't know if it's necessarily a mistake. I think with especially electric violin, it just takes so much time to develop an ear
Mm,
for tone in general. So what sounds good to someone that's inexperienced, um, might sound terrible to me, and that's happened to me a lot. Where someone plugs in, and sometimes it's also the settings they have in general on their EQ and everything, and then you put reverb. If you put reverb on something that already doesn't sound good, it just doesn't sound good with reverb now.
right.
Um, but yeah, I think the most common mistake is too much reverb, because you're gonna drown out the sound, and it's just gonna be this mushy ocean of uh I don't know, mush. And the problem with that is you can't mix together uh anymore, especially when you're with other players, and you lose pitch as well. Like everything starts being just very tricky.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the ones that I hear too, either too much or not enough pre-delay. In
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And pre-delay, I didn't know about that, or what that meant. I always played around with it, but yeah, that you have your natural, your source sound, or you choose how much of that you have first before the
Mhm.
reverb comes in. And that's definitely important, that you don't get uh the reverb sound all the time.
Right. Yeah, I found if I want a wetter sound, if I want more reverb, if I dial that pre-delay up it actually pulls me a little bit forward
Yeah,
and allows me to put more reverb in without making everything so mushy and muddy and indistinct.
right. Exactly. Exactly.
And then where do you put reverb in your signal chain? If you're putting your, say if you've got several effects, maybe you've got distortion and wah and reverb, where do you put your reverb?
Pretty much it's always at the end. I always have it at the end. Um, am I correct about this? I'm just thinking about my chain if it's not the other way around. Yeah, so I usually with the stuff that I tour with, I usually have or no, I think I have my wah all the way at the end. So if I have a wah, the reverb is before the wah, but the wah would be the last guy. So and then I have delay before the reverb, and then reverb wah, and behind the delay is everything else, pretty much flanger, distortion, overdrive, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, any
Yeah.
other advice you want to give to somebody that's just kind of getting started in this and they're like maybe looking for a reverb pedal or trying to figure out what to do?
Yeah, definitely. I first of all, I would just have fun with it, and don't make the mistake of looking up, just reading like what is the best reverb or what is a good reverb. And I would really, if you can, see if you can find some videos, or if you can't find videos, talk to some fellow musicians that hopefully maybe play the same instrument as you. But still, a reverb can really color your sound.
Mm-hmm.
So and that's another thing I think to take into account. If you play a Yamaha or a 3D Various or NS Design, every instrument has its own tone. So if someone who plays a Ned Steinberger violin tells you this reverb is the best, and you play a Yamaha, that might not be the same for you, because it's a different instrument.
Yeah, that's true. And then
Yeah.
everybody's ears are different and your PA is different.
And that,
Is
yeah,
different.
yeah, and your amp as well. I like to use reverb from my amp as well, in certain settings. Yeah, it all really depends what you're doing, where you're doing it, if you're playing with other people. But it's all just experimenting and having fun with it, Yeah,
So where's the puppy? I
yeah.
hear a puppy. I
The
don't see a puppy.
Pushkin, come is. Here she is. Hey, Pushkin, come and say here. Come on. Look. Hey, come on. Look what I don't have.
Oh,
Here's Pushkin.
that's
Yes.
awesome.
Hi, Pushkin. Pushkin likes reverb too because it would make her barking way more awesome.
Make her sound a lot bigger.
Yes, I have a lot of barks actually in my recordings with reverb.
That's awesome.